Hello, this is Michael Hewitt-Gleason. Welcome back to lesson number 5, and today's lesson is BVS equals CVS by 10. Now that's important because the whole measurement system that we're using is the 10 system or the decimal system. So we start off with BVS, better view of the situation, equals the CVS where we are multiplied by 10. Measurement's important. One of the main things that separates science from any other approach to things is the idea of observation and measurement. Observing things, measuring them. Otherwise, we can just make things up. Prose, words, poetry, emotional feelings, that wonderful feeling inside your head that you're right about something is great, but that's not what science is about. Scientific thinking is about measuring, objective measurement, and observation. And so, in this type of thinking system that we use, we've introduced the concept of 10 power, which is just the habit of using the number 10. Now, when you're applying this at home, sport, family, of course in business, it's useful to have a number of metrics or measurements that you're focusing on. It might be cutting costs, for example. One way we use this in New York and in some other parts around the country, in San Francisco, a company called Ocean Spray. Now, Ocean Spray were making cranberry juice, which they now sell in Australia. The idea was to get all the employees, all the brain users, all the knowledge workers in the company to come up with ideas in their own job, what we call bad ideas, and bad stood for $1 a day. So it was an idea in your own job space that might save the company $1 a day. Now again, the idea for the $1 a day was measurement. The problem with those suggestion programs that they have in corporations around the place is about an 8% national average of participation. People don't pay much attention to them. And if they do, they're often just whinging about something, complaining, get rid of the boss's car park, stuff like that, get rid of the marketing department. But if you get people to focus on their own job, and after all, you're the world expert in your own job, and you give them a measurement, come up with an idea that'll save the company $1 a day, then their thinking can get to work. In this particular program we did, there was a lady that had a humble job. She was sat at a workstation. She didn't speak English very well. She was Spanish speaking. And she did something to cranberries all day. I wasn't sure what she did to them. But she had a tube that delivered cranberries to her. And what used to happen, the CVS, was that at the end of at the beginning of each shift, they'd flush out the tube and then she'd start work. And of course, she said, well, all those cranberries were stale and they were wasted. So her idea, her BVS, was what if we flushed out the tube at the end of each shift? And the cranberries were still fresh, they could use them. So that was the idea. Now, the good part about this idea, it required no capital cost to install the idea, just simply a change of procedure. They estimated that the savings were $613 a year at the time, and that's great, but there were 1,500 workstations in this factory. So when you multiply 1,500 workstations by $613 a year, you've got to go out and sell a hell of a lot of cranberry juice to make the same amount of profit that this lady delivered to the company just by her idea. Again, the value of measurement and the value of 10 power in this case, and the idea was to save $1 a day. So as you go through this lesson, you'll notice there's an emphasis on metrics, on measurement, and on the idea of CVS multiplied by 10. Now let's have a look at that. The BVS, which we've talked a lot about, is the better view of the situation. Now, what is that? Well, it's really just starting with the current view of the situation and multiplying it by 10. And there's different ways you can multiply by 10. You can take a quantum leap, you can do it poetically or figuratively, or if you can bring an actual measurement to your CVS, I'm going to send out a postcard today to a client, okay? Multiply by 10, I can send out 10 postcards to the same client or to 10 different clients. There was a young woman at the Actors Institute in New York who was Alexandra Forbes, who was a songwriter. And her idea was that she would make songs, make a little demonstration cassette, and she'd send out a cassette. So she decided to bring in this 10 power concept and send out 10 cassettes to 10 different people. And that worked, and she's now running a Songwriters Institute in New York and teaching the same ideas. There's another little angle to that. Her uncle was Malcolm Forbes, who was a billionaire running Forbes magazine at the time. And Alexandra was a graphic designer and trying to get into songwriting. She figured if I could just do this full time, you know, I'd be able to really launch this career. So she said, I was doing some programs at the Actors Institute at the time. She said, I want to ask or borrow from Uncle Malky $3,000. So we sat down and said, well, here's a good chance to do 10 power. He probably would lend you the money, but businessmen don't like to lend money, but they do like business ideas. So why don't you sit down, figure out the amount of money you really need for a whole year if you were to move into this career, pay your rent, get by and do the things you've got to do, and multiply by 10. She came up with an idea for $30,000. Put a couple of pages worth of a business plan together, presented it to our uncle, and of course, as you would guess, he invested the $30,000. She did then leave, go into it full-time, built her career, and as I say, she's now running that institute in New York, Platinum Plateau. So there are many ways to use 10 power. Doesn't matter what you're doing in sport. We were working with some triathletes once, and that's an extreme sport. You can imagine the physical, they're taking it right to the edge. So we were focusing on the mental game. And this particular fellow, Shane Smith, said that you burn up a lot of energy, and obviously energy management is a big issue in triathlons. You burn up a lot of energy at the start because everyone's standing around, they're nervous, they're like racehorses ready to go, waiting for that starting pistol and psyching each other out and so on. So one experiment we tried, what if we invent something called T minus 10? Now T minus 10 is the start time minus 10 minutes. So the idea was that Shane, in his mind, he'd actually start 10 minutes before everybody else. Now he didn't start running, obviously, because he wasn't allowed, but in his mind, he started the race then. So the nervous part of the, getting ready, he did 10 minutes before everybody else. He wasn't as affected by everybody else. He didn't burn up as much energy. Most race plans begin when the whistle goes. So at T minus 10, he was now into his race plan, a much different mindset, controlling his energy, and he said that was a big help to him. He went on and won the Ironman in Canada, and that's his medal on the wall there that he gave me to thank for these ideas. So 10 power, it's habitually using the number 10, not just words, not just prose, trying to bring, I'll see you in 10 minutes, let's meet for 10 minutes. What are 10 points? This is something that I use, these numbers 1 to 10. One of the techniques, take a piece of paper. What am I going to do at this meeting? I've got an important meeting coming up. I don't want to just walk in the meeting with a blank face. I want to be prepared. Take a piece of paper, write the numbers 1 to 10 down the side, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and take 10 minutes to prepare for the meeting. I could come up with this idea. I'll ask this question. I can bring in this research. I can suggest this action step and so on. 10 things, walk into a meeting, you're looking good. What are we going to do on a holiday, on a vacation, or what destinations? 1 to 10 down the side of the page. So we use these little cards quite a bit, but you can take any piece of paper, napkin in a restaurant. I do it like that all the time. Numbers 1 to 10 down the side. What that does, our brains are not very good at proacting, but they're very good at reacting. Very good reactive systems. You take a blank piece of paper, you stare at it, you're not sure what to put down. Write the numbers 1 to 10 down the side, you've created a template. You've created a field, and your brain is very good at reacting to that field, so then you need to fill in all those spots, and you will come up with 10 ideas, 10 suggestions, and so on. So that's another tip. So the use of 10 power, this is all about measurement. In our thinking, not just using words and prose, but trying to convert our thinking to things that we can manage.